So Matthias, first of all, thank you very much for joining this project, for accepting this invitation. It's a huge pleasure.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Very good. So Matthias, tell us about yourself. How did you come to Auggd?
Right, we founded Auggd in 2011. It was had a previous name, had another name under it, but basically we started a company in 2011, rebranded it in 2014 to Auggd, and have been focusing on the built environment sector since 2012. Our very first client in that sector was Auggd, which is a very large German construction company, and we did a project for them in Qatar, and that basically showed us how we could use the 3D models that are being used in the construction industry so well in augmented reality, and so that's where we started focusing on the built environment sector, and we've been doing this ever since.
Very good, very good. So in terms of problems that you are solving with Auggd, so what exactly are the problems you are solving?
Okay, so basically what we focus on is that we visualize design intent throughout the project lifecycle with the objective of reducing rework. And rework basically makes up between 5 to 20% of all construction costs, and which is obviously a considerable chunk of change. And if you look at that at a global level, that's about $2 trillion a year that gets wasted on rework. So on manpower as well as on materials. So this is what we're trying to focus on, is making a significant difference in that particular area with augmented reality.
Yeah, and so and then you come to Auggd, and what exactly is your product or service that you offer to their clients?
We have a content management system where clients can drop in content, different kinds of content, and it's instantly available in augmented reality. So let's say a developer would like to go and see what a building looks like, a skyscraper would look like in situ at 1-to-1 scale. So we can then take their 3D models, drop it into our content management system, and then they can go onto site and visualize it exactly right there and then. Not only the exterior, but you can also look into the interior side of things and see how all the plumbing, the mechanical, the water, the engineering works and everything, the services basically, how that will look like, and see whether or not it's actually being built to plan.
Yeah, amazing. And in this sense, what are the key points of differentiation of your company?
The key things are that we actually enable the entire supply chain to use augmented reality. So it's not only focused on the big players who can use 3D, but we can also help the small players, the small contractors to visualize things at 1-to-1 scale on site or off site if they wanted to. Our technology is not only there just to visualize different buildings, but you can also go deeper inside the organization to use the technology inside, for health and safety purposes, for training and those sort of things as well. So that distinguishes us considerably from some of our competitors out there, because they only focus on one particular area. We focus on the entire industry as well as inside the organizations. Yeah.
And do you still consider yourself as a startup, or how do you position yourself?
Well, we've been a startup. We've been in this now for 9 years, so I wouldn't say that we're a startup any longer. We have a very small team. We've bootstrapped pretty much ever since we started. We've been growing through our own revenues, so just we're profitable as well at the net level. Not at the gross margins are obviously great in the software business, but even at the net level, we're profitable. So it's I don't know if I can say that we're a startup. We're small, a micro business. Let's put it like that.
Okay, it's a very efficient business. Could I say that?
Yeah.
And how many people you are today?
7.
7 people. And in which countries do you work currently?
So our headquarters are in Sydney, Australia, but we have clients in the Middle East, obviously Australia, Middle East, Asia, and the United States, and here in Europe.
Oh, wow, seems a very interesting because well, you have so many clients and some not so many people, so you probably have most of the developers and they probably the technology may sell itself. Oh,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I don't know if it sells itself.
But what's the it's pretty easy to see that reality augmented reality it's well it's a very add value to the projects. But how is your approach for selling it?
Well, how do we sell? Actually, how do we
Yeah.
sell it, or is it what's our business? How do we? What's our business model?
Yeah,
Is that what you're
yeah,
asking?
yes, yes. One question would be after that's about how you monetize and how you like in
Okay.
terms of license. But
Yeah.
the point is, I'm asking about the approach for selling it. So, what you
So
can go deep.
it's mainly direct selling. So from us going to the construction companies, to the developers, the owners basically, and saying that you know you can use this technology to reduce your rework, help people understand what you're actually trying to build. Yeah. So because that's a considerable thing about being able to bridge that imagination gap that so many different stakeholders have. That you can do this with augmented reality. So basically, that's what we do. We do direct selling from one to one. We have tried going through distributors. Uh, it just didn't work. So
Mhm.
that's so it's still very you know it's a one to one sales process.
Yeah, and so in the other question about the monetization, how the process of the how do you build it for license for projects?
So we got a license. It's a license and professional services basically.
Okay,
Yeah.
and well you have been working in several countries, and so what about the resistance of the real estate market in terms of accepting the new technology? How do you feel that?
Um, the real estate. If we're just talking about real estate, and are we talking about the building the buildings, or actual real estate where people want to advertise their houses and their flats?
The developers, guys,
The
that are
developers. Okay, sorry.
yes,
Um, the the biggest. I don't know if I can say the biggest resistance. There's not much resistance. It's just that it's still a big educational process to let people know what augmented reality can do. So it's still at that level where you have to educate the customer because not everybody knows what augmented reality does and what it can do.
Mhm.
So from our side, we've never really had much of a resistance on cost. It was just the fact that they need to learn about it, and so that increases their sales cycle a fair bit.
Yeah, and well, one more question about this education process because
Mm.
I have seen that so many startups or small companies are moving that direction, and might facing resistance from the real estate industry. So, the approach for this education is like is just talking to decision makers, or do you have any other group of actions that you persuade them?
We've got multiple target audiences. So we've got BIM managers, we've got project managers are pretty key because majority hold the budget, uh, and then they can decide whether or not they want to use that sort of technology. But BIM, digital engineers, those are the guys that we're speaking with.
And today you mentioned their headquarters is Australian. Today, are you based in London, right?
I'm based in London, yes. So I'm one of the
And
co-founders, and I'm based in London.
right. And about the countries that you work, and which of them has less resistance to innovation in your opinion?
Australia.
Australia, really?
They are so embracing of new technologies. It's just it's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I expected, I lived in the Middle East for a long time, and I took the technology there, and I thought it was going to be a relatively easy sell because the majority of the people there are very visual. and this technology is incredibly visual. I can't say that I was right on that one. And then I went from there to the UK, and I thought, it's going to happen real quick. You know, everyone understands it, everyone gets into it. It still takes a bit more persuasion in that sense. So Australia is one of the few markets that's very, very embracing of new technologies. The reason for that is that Australia is so far removed. It's a small market. It's only about 23 million people. A lot of companies go there to test new technologies. So they've always been exposed to all these different kinds of technologies, and that's why they adopt it as well. And the workforce has multiple generations, and about, I think, 3 or 4 generations in there, and the young ones are keeping pushing the new technologies through the through the organization. That's what
I didn't know that. That's really nice.
Yeah.
And can you tell a successful case with a client of yours?
Well, all of our clients. I mean, if
You don't need to name it.
No. All of our clients, when they use it, they either have improved their sales by 33%, or have reduced their costs on the actual project. So that's, for us, it's a success. We work with Lang O'Rourke, and then they keep. I don't know if you know Lang O'Rourke. It's a very large construction company, for example. They are an anchor client of ours and have been with us for 7 years now. So for us, that's a success that they keep on working with us over those years.
For sure. And do you have recurrency over the clients that already have hired you?
Yeah. Most of our clients are recurring clients.
That's really nice. Well, I don't know if you brought your crystal ball, but I'd like to ask you a question about the real estate the real estate market after COVID-19. What's your opinion about it?
I think the commercial real estate market is going to have a bit of a problem because more and more people they've now had 3 months of working from home. They see that maybe that there hasn't been any loss of productivity. So if I were a large company and I had a large office space, and I can see that my people are equally as productive working from home, and I can reduce my overhead, I would move into a smaller office, so I would imagine that real estate, commercial real estate office space is going to be it's going to have a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Not something maybe your clients want to hear about it, but that's just my opinion on that.
Yes, of course. There are some. I was today on a discussion that people were saying that, well, more than 15, 12, long time ago with Marisa, when she first was hired as CEO of Yahoo, and for that moment, everyone from Yahoo was on home office, and then she finished the home office like 15 years ago. So it's a long time, and this shift of mentality in terms of home office is good, home office is not good, and of course, if the need for space for companies. Today I was in a conversation that people were saying that the companies will still demand a lot of space, but will change this kind of space because people will be like the feelings and the experience of working from home is beyond from the productivity, but they want the same quality of experience in terms of comfortable, cozy places and like a place to talk to people. And well, so there are different opinions, but I'm quite sure that at the first moment, the change will be about who is going to pay the bill. And if the bill is shorter, it's like if you can pay less, that will be moved, that will drive the decision.
Yeah.
Usually that's the way things change, right? Well, but now talking about partnerships. So you had a lot of clients and you in different countries, and what is the basis of a very good partnership between the high technology companies and construction and development companies?
Very open communication. and trust, obviously. But that what you promise can actually be delivered. A lot of companies have overpromised or has tried to sell, pie in the sky sort of solutions. What we have done instead is we've looked at work with our clients and listened to them, and they pretty much dictated what our technology roadmap was or is. So we don't overpromise, but we communicate directly and saying, this is what we can do. If you want to achieve this, then we need to do this, this, and this. And then they're relatively open on about sort of adding those types of new features to our platform so that it helps them get a competitive advantage or reduce their costs or increase their sales.
Very good. And well, I have one last question for you. It's about you are working on this technology and the world of innovation. So what would the advice that you would give for someone that would start at the beginning of this innovation journey for a small and mid-sized company that want to work on this direction, the same as you have done for the last 9 years?
Always listen to your customer. Seriously, don't try and sell them anything that you think that they may need. There are so many thoughts that are out there that do that, but most of the time the client doesn't need that. The client needs something else, and if they tell you, then work with that. That's the biggest issue. Always listen to the customer.
Yeah, that's strong. and for big companies that want to update their business model, or big companies that want to partnership with small and medium-sized companies, so what advice you give to them?
What can I say? It's be open. I mean, obviously, put a budget for experimentation, and not just do only experimentation, but then really take the technology and roll it out. If you see it doesn't do anything for you immediately, then obviously scrap the idea. But if you see that there are results, and you take them from a proof of concept, you then go into one of your units, use one of your units, business units, as a case study, make it successful, and then the adoption throughout your large organization will be much easier. Yeah, but just don't stick in that whole proof of concept cycle. Go beyond it. Have the courage to go beyond that.
Very nice. Well, Matthias, it was very nice to hear your thoughts and get to know your company. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for the invitation.